Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Charles Moore. I'm the director of the Wyoming Gaming Commission. It is 9:02. This meeting is being aired live on YouTube. It's also being Zoomed for participants. On our agenda, there is a link to a form to fill out to give public comment and to be a part of it. So I appreciate it. Be patient with us today. We're moving into a little different format for these meetings. President Davis, if you would like to call the meeting to order.
At this time, Charlie, let's call the meeting to order at 9:03 a.m. Looks like we have a quorum, but could you do a roll call?
Yes, thank you. It's 9:03 a.m. on January 22nd, 2021. President Davis.
Here.
Vice President Broussard. Vice President Broussard had let me know he would be absent and maybe be able to come in a little later on this morning. Commissioner Glick.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Leinen. Commissioner Leinen expected that he would be on the call, but Leinen is absent. Commissioner Cura.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wildcat.
Here.
Thank you very much. Senator Driscoll, legislative liaison, does not appear to be on the call and is absent. I did receive an email from the House liaison, Representative Walters. He is busy in Joint Appropriations Committee today and is absent. We do have the governor's liaison who is on the call, Dan Schiffer.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. President Davis, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And also, I just want to identify, and I apologize, Senator Ellis. We do have Senator Ellis joining us today as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At this time, Charlie, I'd like to start the meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which we stand,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Commissioners, I see that we can add to the agenda that we have. Commissioner Brandon has just joined us. Thank you, Randy, for joining us. Appreciate it. And we do have a quorum.
All right, Charlie, after that, let's play ball here, huh?
Thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone that's on the call and everyone that's watching this in the Zoom world. Again, welcome to the January 22nd, 2021 special meeting of the Wyoming Gaming Commission. Our mission, the primary mission of the Wyoming Gaming Commission, is the protection of the wagering public and the health, safety, and welfare of the participants in all lawful gaming and pari-mutuel activity. Our vision, the Wyoming Gaming Commission will maintain public confidence in the integrity of the gaming environment by operating in a fair and diligent manner, and will respond proactively and be known for our expertise, efficiency, and professionalism while responding effectively to evolving gaming industry. Our values: integrity, humility, service, professionalism, responsibility, efficiency, accountability, transparency, fairness, honesty, and quality. All meetings of the governing body of the agency are public meetings open to the public. Again, this meeting is being aired on Zoom. There's also a access for the public to make comments through the forms that we have, and we look forward to those. And again, we do look forward to having public comment, and we'll do everything we can to get everybody in as time permits. Excuse me. We have noticed this meeting in the newspaper, the statewide newspaper. And again, like I said, we are recording the meeting as well. President Davis, I turn it back to you.
At this time, Charlie, we'll proceed with item number 2, the adoption of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any changes? I'd entertain a motion then to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved, Mr. President. Danny.
Thank you, Danny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, show of hands. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, show of hands. Looks like motion carried, Charlie. At that,
Thank you. President Davis, just a point, Commissioner Barry is attending via the phone, so he won't be able to obviously show his hand, so we'll probably need to do, I guess, roll call votes on the rest of these.
all right. Sounds good, Charlie. Okay, with that, let's proceed to item number 3, approval of the minutes of November 13th, 2020. Is there any discussion on the minutes of November 13th? Any corrections or additions? With that, I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th.
Mr. President, I
President Davis,
so move.
second.
Okay. Moved by Dick and seconded by Randy. Charlie, roll call vote.
Yes, thank you. Vice President Broussard is gone. Commissioner Glick.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Leinen.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Cura.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco.
Aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wildcat.
Aye.
And finally, President Davis.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, with that, Charlie, I guess we go to item number 4, general commission business, the president's report. Okay, I've been helping Charlie listen in on the bill discussion at the TRW, and looks like he put forth quite a bit of information there for him, and came out with a pretty good presentation. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let Charlie fill us in on that. And then there's been, with the new amount of information that the commission is asked to consider and everything like that, we're going to try and a new processing for the information that we're being asked to receive and to rule on. For instance, so we're going to try and slow down the process just a little bit, so we've got some consideration time here in the staff. For instance, what we'll do is there'll be a cutoff date for the agenda items, which will allow us enough time for review by the staff and also by the commission. We'll have some additional days in there to review the information and things like that. The other thing that we'll probably do is on the quarterly reports, on our normal meetings, we get financial reports and wagering reports. We will try and coincide them with our quarterly reports that we're doing at the state level and things like that. So if that sounds good with you guys, that'll help us speed up our operation a little bit and give us a little more time to concentrate on other items. And with that, there is one more. I think that's all I got right now. Charlie.
Yes, thank you, President Davis. The financial reports, we'll bring those back to at least every other meeting meeting, if not every meeting. That was something that was recommended to us through LSO when they did the last review of the agencies. So we'll do that. But the quarterly reports that President Davis touched on are the wagering activity reports, the Breeders' Award Program reports. And, as we get busier, it's more efficient for this office and better use of our time, and provide the information to the public each quarter. If someone has some interest and needs something done in between time, of course, we'll make every effort to try to get that information out to the individual. But we'll start posting on the website quarterly transaction reports, quarterly wagering activity reports, quarterly reporting on all of the skill-based amusement gaming, and also the Breeders' Award funds. So those will go out. That kind of coincides what we are asked to do with the Joint Appropriations Committee on our quarterly reports, and it just helps us to where we don't have to continually be preparing those reports. But at any point in time, if either the public or you all have a question on any of the reporting or want some other statistics, please give us a ring, and we will do everything within our power to provide that to you in a timely manner for that. President Davis, I guess we've kind of rolled into the director's report, and I'm just going to touch on a few things if that's okay with you.
Sounds good, Charlie.
Thank you. We are moving forward with the law enforcement training. We've been working with the Post and the Academy to put that together. Special Agent Steinberg has been working with them to get that put together. Some of the training, once that's done, it's going to be a really nice tool for our whole state. We're also working on other training and different things, and some YouTube videos. I think I told you that at the last meeting, working on the YouTube videos as far as licensing, the processes, the procedures. It's quite inexpensive to do a lot of that stuff, and so we're going to get those together. The skill-based amusement game rules, an update on that. The rules have been submitted to the governor's office for his approval to start the 45-day comment period. So we're waiting on that approval to come back. I expect that to be received probably next week sometime, and then we can put that out into public comment and start getting comments on those rules. With that whole piece too, we need to be aware of the legislation that's out there right now. I think that, and if Senator Ellis wants to speak about it, you're more than welcome to. They did have the substitute bill, Senate File 56, that they did move forward. I believe it has all the pieces that we had suggested and needed in there to give us the tools to properly regulate without posturing, of course. I'm pleased with that. They did hold back, I believe they held back Senate File 55 substitute bill just as a kind of a precaution. And so it's kind of sitting there in the wings, I believe, at this time. I believe that covers all of the legislative issues. Skill games, bingo and pull tabs. I'm hoping within the next 30 days we'll have rules ready to start working with the different vendors around on the bingo and pull tab rules. So those are they're in a very rough draft at this time. Getting those together, we ran into some issues with with the individuals that have been working on it with COVID and different things. So, and that also brings up a note too. With the COVID, we have we experienced some of our employees have had to be quarantined. So, we're still working with that. Everybody is. The whole country is dealing with that. So, patience with us. I have one individual right now that's out on another issue and working from home. But now we have our agents back in the office again now, who were on quarantine for a while. So I think that kind of covers pretty much everything that I have at this point in the general and the director's report. There's quite a bit of things going on. If there's any questions from the commissioners on anything, I'm more than willing to try to answer those.
Charlie, if you could give us a brief update where we are on the rules on chapter 1 through 8.
Oh, yes. Chapter 1 through 8 was approved and signed by the governor. So the rules are in the books. I think we had sent you in an email an update on that. If not, I can get those out to you. But those are completed and in the books, 1 and 8. We will be circling back around with chapter 8. We've been working on the Breeders' Award, trying to delineate some of those rules and work on that. And once we have those in a draft, we will start working with the stakeholders on those rules as well.
Thank you, Charlie. So are there any questions for Charlie from the commissioners? At this time, Charlie, I believe we can move into item number 5 and have Mr. Ed Martin on. And if you want to take it from there, Charlie.
Yes. Item number 5 is the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act, which was passed now. I'm very pleased to be able to have Mr. Ed Martin, who is president of the Association of Racing Commissioners International. Ed has spent a tremendous amount of work on this legislation for ARCI, which again, we are members of ARCI, and I am also on the board of directors of ARCI. In your agendas for the public that are listening in, there is a link to the bill. There's also a link to the ARCI analysis there if anyone wants to read. I'm going to turn it over to Ed and let Ed kind of do the 30,000 foot or whatever you feel comfortable, Ed, for the commissioners. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're on vacation, so we won't take too much of your time. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to be with you today. Can everybody hear me okay? I never know how this technology works. First of all, I want to apologize. I'm in the Eastern time zone and I got a little mixed up on the number of hours, but I'm glad I got in time. The federal law that kicks in is mandatory for thoroughbred horse races that you intend to simulcast across state lines. If you don't simulcast your signal out of your state, then there's an argument to be made that you don't need to worry about half this stuff. The brutal reality is horse racing generally across the country depends on the simulcast signals. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not going to pretend to be your counsel, but if you did not want to simulcast Wyoming signals out of Wyoming, but did want to import signals in, those signals would be of races that are being conducted in compliance with the requirements of this new law. There was not a lot of debate on the specifics of this law. It came in as a initiative of the U.S. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in response to some constituent lobbying. And there were not a lot of changes that were made. There weren't really any changes that were made once McConnell had put the bill in. There was previous hearings on the previous proposal in the House of Representatives, but they threw that aside once the McConnell bill came out. But it's now the law of the land, and here's essentially what it does. There will be an independent, supposedly independent, non-governmental organization governed by a 9-member board, of which 5 members, a majority, have to be individuals that are considered independent. And independent means they cannot have any financial interest in horse racing in any way, shape, or form. They also consider that racing commissioners and commission employees are not independent. The ARCI disagreed with that vehemently, but our concerns fell on deaf ears. In about 18 months, the requirements of this law will become mandatory. Now, this board is currently being formulated. They are taking nominations. I do know that there has been a significant number of names that have been put into the process. I am told that they probably will not formalize the board until the end of February. At that point in time, they will name committees. There are 2 standing committees, and then there will be other committees. But the standing committees, one of them will deal with track safety requirements, and the other will deal with anti-doping and medication requirements. Now, the authority itself will make the rules under powers of the Federal Trade Commission, and the enforcement of those rules will be handed off to a contracted enforcement agency. The statute envisions that the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency will be the enforcement agency, and they would have all authority over hearings, penalties, investigations, drug testing, to implement the policies that have been adopted by this new board. I anticipate that the first wave of policies adopted by the board may be to incorporate the existing ARCI model rules, but where they go after that is totally up to them. The choice for the various states is going to be pretty much a fiscal choice. The proponents of the legislation would love to have the states keep the existing drug testing and enforcement infrastructure in place. We have advised them that that will be a financial decision based upon state finances, and that is a decision that, depending on the state, may or may not be left in the hands of the State Racing Commission, and will be more affected by the overall fiscal and budget health of a particular state. The federal government, by passing this bill, created an opportunity for some states that are in fiscal distress to pretty much take this entire program and say, you guys are going to do it, you guys are going to figure out how to pay for it, and we're not going to worry about it anymore. The state racing commissions maintain all other power and authority that you currently have. The investigation of any drug positives will be conducted by the enforcement agency, again envisioned to be the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. And I think the initial intent of this was that they would create this new national entity and they would pretty much tell the states what to do. The problem is, how are you going to pay for it all? There's going to be an overhead for the new national authority, and then there'll be an overhead for the enforcement agency. And they envision that they will just send the bill to the states and the states will have to pay that. The states may not be able to get an additional appropriation from the legislature to do that. So then the option for a state would be, does the state legislature give the racing commission the unilateral authority to impose fees on licensees to pay for this? Or does the state decide to say, hey, you've passed this federal law, you've put all this power in this new authority, you've given this authority the ability to tax parts of the industry, so you can do it, you can raise the taxes, and you can pay for it. And I think that that will be a path that some states will take. The people who pushed for this bill really didn't envision that they might have to be hiring people to collect urine at smaller and mid-sized venues, and then contract directly with the labs, and then adjudicate anybody who challenged a lab finding. There are a lot of unanswered questions here, and this is something that is now causing the people who were pushing for this legislation a tremendous amount of concern, because now they've got it, and they've got to figure out how to make it work. Now, the ARCI did not support this bill. We opposed the previous versions of the bill. But now that the bill is law, our members collectively have taken the high road on this and saying, listen, we're just concerned about that you don't make a huge mess here with an already complicated system. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency is not yet sure of exactly what it is they are taking on, so they don't have a firm agreement to do this yet with the new authority. The new authority is trying to figure out what the existing program costs on a state-by-state basis, and the RCI has been trying to help them run interference with individual commissions to get the information they need. The commissions need to know what the costs are going to be in individual states before you can make an informed decision as to whether you're going to continue your program consistent with the new mandates and figure a way to pay for any additional mandated costs, which are unknown right now, or just turn the whole darn thing over to them. So all this is going to play out over the next 18 months. And as I said to Charlie when he asked me if I would join you here today, I said, I don't have a whole lot of specific answers yet because they're all trying to figure it out. I do know that the proponents of the bill, the U.S. Jockey Club and this coalition for horse racing integrity, which is headed up by a gentleman by the name of Sean Smealy, who is a part thoroughbred owner, but also a Washington lobbyist, and was a very effective person in pushing for this legislation. They have reached out to us to try to help them in a cooperative way. And I continue to explain to them this is a very expansive issue with a lot of moving parts. They envision a significant expansion in out-of-competition testing. Well, I explained to them that that's not the easiest. That sounds great on paper, but there are a lot of states where you cannot draw blood from a horse unless you're a licensed veterinarian, and that's going to increase your costs. You're not going to be able to go send a vet tech out and draw that blood, for a more affordable price. You're going to have to hire a veterinarian. The other thing is this bill requires is that the hearings are conducted under the auspices of the Federal Trade Commission. So if you appeal a case to the USADA and you don't find satisfaction, you're now fighting an appeal at the Federal Trade Commission. Now, how's that going to work? Do you anticipate local horsemen are going to get on a plane and go to Washington, D.C. or go to the nearest regional office of the Federal Trade Commission? And I'm not exactly sure there's going to be anybody sitting in that regional office that's going to know top to bottom about horse racing and a drug positive and what the rules are. So this is a whole blank slate, and we're going to try to help them make sense out of it. We took the position all along that the existing infrastructure was not broken. It was struggling with things like funding and things like jurisdiction in some states over horses that might not be under the jurisdiction of a commission until they're either entered in a race or on the grounds of a licensed facility. How this plays out, as I said, Mr. Chairman, I don't know. We're just going to take it day by day, and we did tell them that it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all, that this is going to play out differently in individual states depending on the racing environment in that state, B, the ability of that state to pay for anything, and there's going to be individual industry considerations and government considerations every state. Somebody said to me in the context of this, and I won't throw them under the bus, but it was one of the leaders who was advocating for this bill, and the purpose of the bill was to achieve uniformity, but they did say to me on a phone call, well, maybe we need to have different policies for different reasons, because we've raised the issue of concern about the financial viability of smaller and mid-sized racing venues, especially those that don't have other forms of gaming entertainment to offer to patrons and to generate financial underpinning support for the horse industry. So this is a work very much in progress. They are going to be judged by whether this does better in terms of racing integrity and equine welfare than the current system, and I think they know that. That's probably about the only specifics I can tell you now, Mr. Chairman, but I'd be certainly willing to answer any questions or discuss any aspects of this that you think might be helpful as you try to get your arms around this in the same way I'm trying to get my arms around it for the whole regulatory network.
Ed, I have a couple of questions. You said that it's mandatory for the thoroughbred. What about the Quarter Horse Racing Association?
Well, the other breeds, the Quarter Horse, it's American Quarter Horse Association, was not in favor of this bill, and they would not like to be swept under it. Now, there's two ways quarter horse racing in a particular state can be brought into this bill. One of them is if the breed registry, the American Quarter Horse Association, decides to opt in. If they don't opt in, the state racing commission in a state can opt them in whether they want it or not. We have, for the most part, in the U.S., we've got we've got a lot of jurisdictions like your own where you've got mixed breeds. Some of the jurisdictions, and these are jurisdictions in the East that have thoroughbred racing and standardbred racing, and they're struggling with this. And the standardbreds are as opposed to coming in under this as the quarter horse interests are. But I've had some feedback from some commissions that if we have to do this for thoroughbred racing, it's going to start to become an operational challenge for us to have two different systems. So whatever we do for one, we're going to end up doing for all. That's not the answer that Standardbred Breed Registry wants to hear, and it's certainly not the answer that the American Quarter Horse Association wants to hear. And I know I've been dealing with Janet Van Beber over there, and I kind of told her that, you know, even if a racing commission wanted to keep the quarter horse separate, the racing commissions are part of a state government, and their budgets are determined by governors and legislatures, and the budget directors in a particular state have a tremendous amount of sway over some of this sometimes. And that's how it's going to, the quarter horse are going to have to fight that battle on a state by state basis. And I don't know if they've come talk to you about it yet, but I'm sure if they haven't, they will at some point once they see where this is going.
And then, Ed, you mentioned on the board to be a member of the board of 9 without any horse related. What's the criteria to be a board member? You need to be an astrophysicist or what?
Well, there are some people who were critics of the bill that said they only want people who don't know anything about horse racing, and I think that's a little bit extreme, because they do envision that four of the 9 members are going to be people who will come from horse racing constituencies. I have recommended a couple of names to them of people who are former racing regulators with extensive experience, but have retired and have no interest at all in working for the Racing Commission or the RCI, or they don't own horses, or they haven't done any consulting work. They've just kind of retired and gone off into the sunset with the grandchildren. So I did float a couple of names in there with the hope that, you know, some of those quote unquote independent seats might be allocated to somebody that kind of knew what the heck they were doing on this stuff. But again, the RCI was an opponent of the earlier versions of this bill, and I don't know to any extent if I make a personal recommendation if that is the kiss of death in this process or not. But they did ask me for a couple of names, and I did honor that by sending a couple of former regulators that kind of knew the names into there. There may be a way if the other breed registries. I sense what is happening with the proponents of this is they're starting to realize the potential for major disruption. And, in pretty much every state, everybody, pays a tax. Your taxes, the racing commissions are funded differently in every state, but in essence, somebody is paying a tax or a fee somewhere. That money goes to the state for the most part and is appropriated back to the racing commission. So the racing industry gets a service for at least the money that they're paying in taxes or fees. What the danger here with this bill is that a state budget director may say, well, wait a minute, we raise X number of hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars from the horse racing industry, and we've got to spend it for drug testing or for this, or investigations, and for hearings. But hey, we could just hand all this off to this new authority. And by the way, we can keep these taxes because we're broke. So we're going to keep these taxes. We're going to fill potholes, or we're going to put them in the hospital or send them to the schools. And the horse racing industry is going to be on its own. You know, they've got this, they wanted this, they're going to have this thing. So if that happens like that, you know, you've got a bunch of people who didn't pay attention to this issue, or were asked to maybe advocate for an alternate, like an interstate compact, which we had called for a number of years, but never got any traction with the AQHA or the USTA, which would achieve the uniformity issues that they said they wanted. But if you've got a situation where now you're paying state taxes, and you're not going to be able to get the political punch in the legislature to get a targeted tax reduction for your industry, and you could end up paying twice for this. And you know, you can imagine how mad some of those people are going to be if they started getting that bill. So this has the potential, and I hope it doesn't, but this does have the potential to go sideways. And we're going to try to advise them as best we can to be slow, deliberate, and be very cognizant of the ability of an industry to absorb any additional costs, especially when it's in such fierce competition for the entertainment dollar. So I'm starting to sense that some of that concern is breaking through. I wish it had broken through before they decide to pass the law, but I guess better late than never.
I guess then with that, Ed, I have one final question for you. Where do the horses and the horsemen fall into this? What's their input? Slim and none?
Well, I mean, the horsemen are a covered constituency. I would hope that there's some horsemen voices on these committees, as well as the board. Although I can't, you know, I'm not privy to who the candidates are or what they're considering. And it's a small board. I mean, 9 people. You know, I mean, it was pushed by thoroughbred interests, so I would anticipate it's going to have a pretty firm emphasis on thoroughbred constituencies. But I would hope they would be sensitive to the larger impact of this on the other breeds as well. The horsemen are out there trying to figure out what their role is going to be. The ARCI, I do not believe we are not going to continue with our model rules process and the developing of recommended regulatory policies. We will probably invite this new authority to become a member and participate in our processes, because I think that our processes, while they've been helpful to individual commissions like yourself, they can also be helpful to this authority. And the horsemen, while they may or may not like a particular model rule and will be the first to criticize us for adopting it, they were comfortable and they felt that they had an opportunity to be heard and be part of the process. And frankly, their participation in our process, I think, has made our process a lot stronger. Why they just didn't pass a bill just to say the RCI model rules are going to be the rules for everybody beats me, because it would probably save a heck of a lot of money and keep the enforcement in the hands of the states. But they didn't do that, and so here we are today.
Thank you, Ed. There are other questions for Ed at this time? Commissioners?
President Davis, this is Commissioner Lynan.
Hey, Randy.
Hi. Mr. Martin, I was in Colorado and you, with the ARCI meeting probably 4 or 5 years ago, and we were discussing this then, and it was looming on the horizon. And one of the things that was brought up at that time, that was the I guess, opinion of some of the people who were pushing for this bill, that they wanted to ban certain drugs that were currently being used. Was that still, in his final bill, was that still the hidden impetus behind everything else?
It was still a major impetus, yes. The bill was watered down and does not outlaw race day Lasix per se. It does create a process by which that issue is to be assessed, and they will have the authority to basically get rid of Lasix in definitely thoroughbred racing and possibly other breeds as well if they decide to go that direction and the other breeds are opted in. The people who wanted a clear prohibition of race day Lasix were not happy that wasn't just blatantly done in this. And they're going to have to do a study, and it's going to play out over the next probably the first 2 or 3 years once this authority is in existence. Meanwhile, you have some racing companies, some of the larger thoroughbred racing companies are phasing it out in working with their regulators. It's definitely out of stakes races, but some of them are trying to phase it out for 2-year-olds. So and again, that's going to be different in every state depending upon the relationship between the track and the regulator and the horseman.
Are there any other questions? Or Randy, did that kind of hit the head on the nail there?
Well, yes, it did. The reason I brought it up was because it was being pushed by USADA and everybody else, the banning of race day Lasix and everything else like that. And that was the big impetus. And then having cursory looked at the law itself, it, as Mr. Martin pointed out, it didn't do that specifically in the law. But I assumed that it was, still one of the things that was behind it. Again, this whole thing gives me a great deal of heartburn as a commissioner here in the state of Wyoming, because we have small tracks. We don't have, the bigger tracks. We're not the same as Kentucky or Louisiana or a lot of these other places. We have difficulty. And to be quite honest with you, we have a very robust, as all of us know, we have a very robust drug testing program that we administer. I don't want to see our system get broken because of a federal regulation. That's kind of where it gives me a lot of heartburn. And to be quite honest with you, USADA has, if you look back at USADA's record as far as their testing, even on Olympic athletes, they don't have a real good track record over the last 15 years. Certainly not as good as ours. So it's a concern of mine. And I'd like to, have Mr. Martin comment on what I said there, if he wants to.
I don't mind. I'll comment on anything, Commissioner. People know me for a while. I'm not a shrinking violet. We analyze first of all, we send U.S. racing commissions send about 250, 270,000 biological samples to the lab every year. USADA sends about 13,000. So in terms of them, the magnitude of the testing operation that is going to come under their direction, it's a tremendous expansion. Well, they have one or sometimes 2 labs. We have a dozen or so labs. When you look at the totality of the testing and the findings, when you see something in a test that shouldn't be there, horse racing's got a pretty good percentage, but so does what they do. Now, there's 2 ways of looking at it, and they're very comparable. They're very comparable. So I'm not sure they're doing any better or any worse than we're doing. Yet the image is that, they are the gold standard and we don't know what we're doing. Well, I know of a lab director who's in contact with some of their laboratory testing people, and he was explaining to them about TCO2 testing. And it was like, oh, didn't even know that was going to be in the mix. Well, it's going to be in the mix. They've got quite a learning curve to understand what's done in horse racing. We've got probably less of a learning curve in terms of dealing with them. But if they're going to be in charge, they're going to learn a lot from what's being done. And frankly, despite all the political rhetoric, they might have a renewed respect for what everybody's been doing, because it's not been it's not been the mess that some people have tried to portray it as. USADA, we've got racing commissions that have messed up a case here and there, and the same thing with USADA. I can't cite you chapter and verse, but I do know this about, they always talk about Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong beat the lab like over 300 times before they finally caught him. And, none of us are naive. There are people who have figured out a way to beat our labs, and it's a constant game of cat and mouse. And, you need intelligence, you need investigators. It's one thing to say you want out of competition testing, but, we've advocated intelligence-based out of competition testing, because if you don't draw a sample at a particular time, whatever might have been done to that horse is not going to be able to be seen. Now, we've had labs like the New York lab has developed new tests for new substances that nobody could test for before, including some of the USADA labs. So, we're all doing the same thing. I'm not sure they're going to be any better or worse than we've been. The challenge is always something that we don't know anything about, or the something that we know about, but we haven't figured out how to test for you. And that challenge doesn't change no matter how you rearrange the seats on the deck.
Thank you, President Davis. That's all I have.
Thank you, Andy. Are there any other questions for Ed? Well, I don't know about the rest, but I'm very well enlightened now. But as time goes on, Ed, would it be possible for you to come back and give us updates and things on how we're pursuing here?
Oh, anytime. We're all in this together. We're all trying to figure this out. And I know I talk to Charlie pretty much, I won't say on a daily basis, but definitely a regular basis. And I'll be more than happy to come back to the full commission anytime you want. Especially now that I can sit in the comfort of a hotel and not have to get on a plane or drive up to see you. I'd love to do that one day, but they've scared the willies out of us. But I'm not wearing a mask, and I know, Miss Chairman, you've got these plexiglass things next to you. I don't know if that's for COVID or you're concerned about somebody coming in and trying to throw a tomato or something. So.
I think they said it was for table tennis here in the office.
That looks like a fun game to have. I think I want one for my dining room table.
There you go.
I'm sorry I don't have any better news for you or many more details for you. I'm a little frustrated by how all this played out. I thought that the advocacy was totally dismissive of the state commissions, and I wasn't real happy about any of that. And I do know that we've been told that at least our testimony at some of these congressional hearings was one of the greatest obstacles that they had to try to overcome. But you know, the minute the majority leader of the Senate makes it a priority before the end of session to push this through, based upon the perception that he was in a tightly contested race and needed to deliver something for his state, you know, that's a hard thing to overcome. And there were a number of senators who were approached who did have misgivings on this bill, but asking them to stand up to the majority leader, who has included it in a must-pass government funding bill at the end of the year, you know, that's a big ask, and maybe too much of an ask. So I wouldn't be critical of any legislators who you might have been getting a sympathetic ear from, but you know, maybe there'll be a technical correction to this. I don't know. If there is, we're certainly going to be at the table, and any input you have from Wyoming and any input we get from anywhere among our various states, so we're going to try to see that people pay attention to that, because this has the potential to take an orderly but not perfect situation and turn it into a mess. And that's the last thing I think any of us want to see.
Yeah, I would really like to see representation from us, quote, dirt trackers out here, you know. Any other questions? Thank you, Ed. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you, Ed.
Take care.
President Davis, if I can jump in real quickly. Nick, do we have anybody that wanted to or signed up for public comment on this particular item?
Not on 5, but we have several for the next one.
Okay, thank you. I guess we don't have any public comment then. Again, I'd like to thank, I know Ed is left the call, but I'd like to thank Ed, Ed Martin, and the whole, everybody at ARCI have been a great asset to me and this commission and the state of Wyoming, and we really appreciate their input. And as President Davis said, you know, the disappointment is that it appears that, as President Davis said, the dirt trackers weren't represented in this. And I did communicate and have been communicating with our delegation on this. And again, it was conveyed to me by our delegation. Part of the problem is it was attached to a must-pass bill, and so it went forth. But they are aware of it, and you know, they know the concerns that we have on the Racing Commission with this. It's the devil in the details, as always. So that's all I have, President Davis.
Okay, with that, Charlie, I would assume we're proceed to item number 6.
President Davis, do we need to take a brief recess? Does anybody, or you want to keep moving on? What would you like to do, commissioners?
I guess that would be up to the commission. Do we need to pause for the cause? I do. Okay, let's take 5 minutes if we could, Charlie.
Okay, Nick, can you arrange that? Or we'll take a 5-minute break here. You can either turn off your cameras and mute your, and then we'll be right back on. Are you doing this?
Good morning. Can I get a quick audio check from the room while we're on break? Can I get a thumbs up?
I can hear
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Kerr and Lander. My audio keeps cutting out a lot. I don't know if it's my system or if it's everybody's experiencing that.
I can hear you okay now.
Okay. I was just having trouble hearing the other responses from the chairman and from Ed Martin and Charlie. So maybe it's improving.
Can you hear me now there?
Yeah, that's good.
Is it?
Yeah.
As we move people over, everyone, we have quite a few to move over, so it'll take a minute.
President Davis, Director Moore, everybody for this agenda item is connected.
Can you hear me, Nick? Oh.
Yes, you can.
All right. Well, Charlie, have we had our 5 minutes?
I believe we have, yes.
Has everybody checked back in?
Let's do a quick roll call for all the commissioners, if you don't mind. Obviously, President Davis is here. Vice President Broussard, have you joined the call? Vice President Broussard continues to be absent. Commissioner Glick.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Leinen.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Cura.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco.
Here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wildcat. Commissioner Wildcat, did you rejoin us? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I couldn't find you on the screen. I'm sorry. We also have the governor's liaison, Dan on the call, and again, as we said earlier, Representative Walters and Senator Driscoll are absent today. Real quickly, I would like to welcome to the call Governor Mead, and thank you very much, sir, for joining us today. It's good to see you, and you know, just that's it. It's good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. President Davis, Director Moore, Commissioners, having not attended one of these, I'm assuming, Director, that means I'm up. Is that correct?
Well, potentially what we're going to do, if you don't mind at this point, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged you at this point. So
Well,
I think we are going to jump back a step here. We are currently on item number 6A, which is updates. These would be updates for the live racing updates from Wyoming Downs, Wyoming horse racing, and any updates with 307 horse racing as well in preparation. Part of those updates I want to give you, we've currently in the process of contracting with our stewards and our veterinarian for the races in Gillette. So we're moving forward with that. This is an update on the live racing. We are doing a new RFP this year for the drug testing and sampling. That will be considered, I believe, next month. That will be closing. So we've got that upcoming, and excited, looking forward to another good year. So President Davis, I think I'll pass it back to you if you would like to see if there's any comments from three of the permittees.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. At this time, is there any updates on the 2021 racing season from our permittees at this time? Eugene, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just figured that one out. Thank you, President Davis, commissioners. Yeah, just wanted to let the commission know we're in the process of publishing our stakes nomination blanks and getting out the stake schedule to the horsemen, let them know what races we're going to have available, working with a racing secretary on a condition book that we hope to have out in the next 30 days or so. Additionally, working with the Sweetwater Events Complex, we've committed over the next several years to spend $500,000 in racetrack improvements, including additional safety rail, improving the paddock, and the configuration of the track. So hard at work with them finalizing things. As it's not our property, we have to have a rock solid consensus as to what we're going to do, because those improvements obviously will default to the county in the future. So with that said, I want to thank the Wyoming All Breeds Racing Association, George Spiva, Dan Lee, working closely with us in finalizing their races to be run at Sweetwater Downs. And with that, Mr. President, I stand for questions.
Are there any questions, commissioners, at this time for Eugene?
Mr. President, this is Dwayne. I had a question.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Eugene, one question I had was, were you able to move that, forget what you call it, the observation deck on top of that, the grandstands over so that you could get that line that we discussed moved back? I think you know what I'm talking about.
Finish line?
Yes, President Davis, Commissioner Pacheco. Moving the steward stand is a bit problematical at this point. However, the technology exists by camera placements to move the finish line back. We'd like to figure out a way to move it back another 30, 40 yards if we could. And like I said, we're working with some track architects, Richard Tedesco, among others, to figure out, and surveyors to figure out how and where we could possibly do that. Also, it's going to take some meetings with the commission too, and to make sure that we have a proper view of the finish line for the stewards. So we're looking forward to hopefully addressing those in the future racetrack safety meetings that the commission is putting together and being coordinated by Brandy Koltiska. Hope that answers your question, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Are there other questions for Eugene at this time?
President Davis, is Commissioner Leinen.
Hey, Randy. Go ahead, Randy.
Eugene, have you, you mentioned a multi-year contract, last year and the year before or whatever, there was some confusion, I think, or some political concerns from the local people down in Sweetwater County about a contract with you. I'm assuming you're going to have a fairly longer than a year-by-year contract with Sweetwater Downs. Is that a correct assumption on my part?
Yes, President Davis, Commissioner Leinen. We have a contract on file with the commission. It is a 5-year contract with an option for another 5. So we're anticipating to be there at least for the next 10 years. And like I said, our commitment to the county was to spend in the first several years $500,000 to improve the racing facility for all the participants, and to with a special emphasis on safety. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Eugene, that's good to hear. I'm glad. It does, and that's good to hear on my part that you've got that they have decided that you're a good asset to their complex down there, which I think you are. And I think that's a good situation for all of us, including racing in the state of Wyoming.
Any other questions for Eugene at this time? Hearing none, Eugene, thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, do you have an update? I see your
President
pad.
Davis, I believe Mr. Lamb is still trying to connect in. Nick, we may want to boot him off and then let him come back in again, potentially. Is that an option for us?
That sounds good, Charlie. At this time then, Jack with 307, you have us an update. You're muted, Jack.
Yeah, I was trying to find the mute button. Mr. President Davis, Commission, thank you all today for having us on the call. The first update I'd like to share with everyone is there was some rumors that may have been started by one of the other operators that we were not in fact running our live race meet this spring. And I definitely want to clear the air there that we are in fact running this spring, and there is nothing that's going to keep us from running. We have every intention of putting on the best possible race meet that we can. So I would like to kill that rumor there. We also are working with Camplex, and Jeff Esposito is on the call today. We're thrilled about the relationship we have with the Camplex thus far, and the potential we have with them. We have some big plans at the Camplex, possibly multi-million-dollar developments that we're going to be doing there, not only to the track, but beyond. We have big hopes for Campbell County and for the Camplex, and we're building on that partnership every day, and we're excited about that. Part of that right now includes, updating the rail and getting a brand new inside-outside rail put in at Camplex. With that said, I mean, we can't express how excited we are to host our first live race meet. We've been working closely with George Spiva there at Wabra. Sincerely appreciate your group, George, and everyone involved, and what you're doing to help us get this meet going this year. It's going to be a group effort, and we're doing everything we can as horsemen for the horsemen. So the last thing I'll say that, our commitment to the live race meet this year should be obvious, because we're obviously putting on a live race meet without any OTBs at this point generating revenue. As everybody knows, there's a long process involved with OTBs and getting to the point where those are funding the live race meet, which is their full intention. But we're committed to the horsemen, and we're going to put on the best possible meet that we can. So I guess with that, I will open it up with any questions.
Are there any questions for Jack at this time, commissioners? Well, Jack, you got off the hook pretty easy this time.
Thank you, President Davis.
It is only, what, 2 months till we get to see the horses going around up there?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. And worth noting, we're within a week probably of not only with Wabra, but also on our 307 horse racing website, having the payment schedule up for our stakes races. We do apologize for the delay there. We've just been finalizing all the details for this multi-million-dollar event. So, but we're excited about it. And within the week, we should be having all sorts of information for all the horsemen here. So with that, thank you.
Well, I hope you get that rail system in here soon so we can get back to a normal winter.
That's right. It's been fortunate so far, but yes, we're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
President Davis, if I may.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. And Jack, just so you know, and again, thank you for the update. If there's anything that we can do here, communicating with me, with the office, there's a lot of experience, and I know you all have a lot of experience at your back call too that you have brought to the table. But if there's anything that we can do, let me know. We did post on our website. My apologies. We do have your website posted on the website now for us. So that's out there. And if there's anything that we need to do from any of the operators, Wyoming Horse Racing, Wyoming Downs, or 307 Horse Racing, get it to Brandy in the office, and we'll get those things circulated, not only to the commissioners, but also to the website and different places. But thank you for the update.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. President Davis, we do have Mr. Lamb on the call now. He was able to join us.
Okay, Frank, if you want to give us a brief update. Hello, Nick. Did you find him? Nick?
Got to unmute, Frank. There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, you know, Wyoming Downs is just moving ahead on schedule. Our stakes payment schedule should be posted by now. We finished that last week, and the stakes races should be up on our website. So, and we've met with our track crew and determined what we need to do for material for the track, and so we've set a schedule and a date for everyone to show up and all the equipment to show up and start working on the racetrack at the end of May. And Steve Wood will be coming in again and supervising that. So that's about it. We're on schedule and everything looks good.
With that, thank you, Frank. Is there any questions for Frank at this time? Commissioners? Looks like everything's going to be good, right? Even in the drought situation, we've got alternative water source.
Well, Mr. President, since we're not running as long a meet on the tail end into August, we're finishing up a little bit earlier. We should not have any problem with water. That's, as you know, always been a concern. So that's why we wanted to kind of back that off a little bit, because last season, that last weekend was pretty tricky. We were pulling water out of every place we could get it just to get water on the racetrack. So I don't think we'll have that problem again.
All right, sounds good. With that, Charlie, should we go to item B?
If I could, yes, we can. But first, if you don't mind, if the permittees can get your officials lists to us as soon as possible, that helps us immensely. If they are new officials that haven't been working in the state of Wyoming and we haven't looked at, it's even more important. And you can communicate with Brandy. We can get you the license apps out. We can get those in. The officials are approved by the commission, so we need those to us as quickly as possible so we can go through them and then get those to the commissioners for the next meeting or subsequent meeting. The safety committee that we formed, we'd initially intended to have a meeting of that committee prior to the end of January. We are looking at probably the first week in February. Brandy will be reaching out to 307 Horse Racing, Wyoming Downs, Wyoming Horse Racing on that, and all the other individuals that have jumped in and volunteering to be a part of that safety committee. Along with that committee, I know it's sometimes difficult to put these things together, but if at some point 307 Horse Racing, if you can put together your track maintenance and safety plan and get that submitted to Brandy, and then Wyoming Downs and Wyoming Horse Racing, if you can update your maintenance and schedules that we've had in the past, that would be helpful. And again, get that to Brandy. But she will be reaching out to you either probably the first of next week, so we can have a safety committee meeting and just kind of get together and just see where everybody's at. So excited about racing, and excited that we're going to have a lot of opportunities for everybody and for the Wyoming Bred program this year. So that's all I have.
Okay, with that, Charlie, we're on item 6B, Wyoming 6B, okay, it's basically the 100-mile rule. And originally, we'd intended to elaborate and reaffirm what was conveyed in the December 9th letter from the Attorney General's to 307 Racing regarding the 100-mile status and rules. On Wednesday, January 20th, 4:40 p.m., Director Moore received a formal request from 307 Racing wanting to be included on the agenda to consider a rule deletion. Due to the timing of this request, we are unable to make proper notice, as well as we have not had the chance to properly consider the delinquent of the document. Request will be considered upon completion of review. A meeting date will be set and all parties will be properly notified. It is my recommendation to the commission to move on to the next agenda item at this time. So with that, Charlie, we're moving to item number 7.
Is that the pleasure of the commission?
Is that the pleasure of the commission at this time? Do we need to do
President Davis?
Yes, Randy.
Davis, this is Commissioner Leinen. I would like to put that into a formal motion that we table that until the commission staff, the commission, and the Attorney General's office have a chance to review the document that was submitted on the 20th.
Charlie, do we need that in the form of a table or just a continue? I don't think we want to table this unless it's for further review or something like that, or is that, how do we want to handle this?
That's a good question. We're really not tabling this item. We would be rescheduling as soon as we can the consideration of the request. So I don't know if I don't think we're really tabling this item.
Then I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
President Davis,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may try and proffer a motion, I would move that we postpone this consideration to a date to be determined upon review by the commission, staff, and the AG's office.
How's that sound, Charlie?
That sounds good.
I think you nailed it there. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Charlie, I think we need to have a roll call vote on this one, please.
Who was the second?
Well, it was a double second. I think it was Commissioner Wildcat.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's who I got, with Commissioner Wildcat.
Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, roll call. Vice President Broussard is absent. Commissioner Glick.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry. Commissioner Barry, did I hear?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Leinen.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Kura.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco.
Aye.
And Commissioner Wildcat.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, with that, Charlie, we'll proceed with item number 7, Wyoming Downs LLC. Number 8, a request received December 3rd on Paramax Vision update.
Going back real quickly, was there anyone that did want to make any public comment on either one of those 2 agenda items? And apologizing for that.
Public comment in item 6A and B?
Correct.
Okay, we'll listen for 6A first. Any public comment? Would that be Nick having that in the waiting room or something?
Everyone has been pulled into the meeting that wanted to comment.
Okay, is there any comments on item 6A? Hearing none. Any comments on item 6B at this time?
President Davis. Oh,
Go ahead, Governor Mead.
yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize for this. Which of those is the 100-mile rule?
Item 6B, sir.
Okay, well, I would, if President, if you would allow, I would like to make a few comments on that, if that's agreeable at this time.
Yes, it's public comment time, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, President, Director, and Commissioners for giving us a little bit of time. Having watched the previous presentation, it's clear you guys have a lot on your plate, so I'll try to be brief in my comments. First, let me comment on the timing of the 307's petition to change the rule. We were in a bit of a quandary on that because we saw that it was a discussion item, and we thought as you discussed it, it would be better to have you fully informed as the 307's position versus learning about it after your discussion. But I completely understand the commission getting it at the time that they did, wanting to have time to consider it, digest it, make sure that the public knows what you're considering. So I appreciate where you're at and the commission's position on not taking it as a formal matter today, instead delaying it for a period of time. I do want to comment on the 100-mile rule and give you some background as to why we filed the petition. Just first, a little bit of background that I think all of you know. 307, and I'm appearing on behalf of 307 along with Hathaway and Kuntz today, is new to the game, starting last June, and been working and making significant investment in Wyoming to get horse racing, live horse racing up and going. In that process and looking at the rules and the statute, they became concerned last year about what the reading of the statute is and what the reading of the rule is, both how the commission interprets it and the Attorney General's office. And so as a result of that, you saw in November, we asked for some guidance and clarification on that, 307 did. And I want to express my appreciation for the commission for being timely and getting on that as they did, and also the Attorney General's office for getting on it in short order, because that was exactly what we had asked for, some clarification. Unfortunately, at least for 307, we feel that we're left with less clarification, less certainty in terms of investment in live horse racing. And I just want to explain briefly why 307 feels that way. Starting with what we call the 100-mile rule, which you all know, but for purposes of today's discussion, the statute, 1125-102 subsections, no simulcasting may be conducted within 100 miles of any premises permitted under this act, except that the commission may waive the 100-mile limitation if the simulcast permit application includes written approval from the permittees whose permitted premises is within the 100-mile limitation. That's the end of the statute as I read it, that section of the statute as I read it. I want to remark and note that there is no time limitation in there. There is not a during the time. It is stated simply that it shall not be conducted within 100 miles with the exceptions noted in the statute. The Gaming Commission rule provides that the operator shall not operate a simulcasting facility during the time of a live Pari-Mutuel event. And that's where the rub is, and that's why we asked for clarification from the Attorney General's office. And where the Attorney General's office ended up and represented in the Attorney General's letter is that not only the Attorney General, but this commission says this simulcast prohibition does not apply to the days or even hours where the horse racing track is not permitted to offer live Pari-Mutuel events. So with that, President, we are left with questions in our mind, which is that one, if this is the way it is, that would seem to provide protection only to the minutes or seconds during a horse race, which is not, in our view, protection at all. But the purpose of my comments today isn't to engage in a legal debate with the Attorney General's office. I appreciate their work. And I would just say, for sake of the discussion today, let's make an assumption that the Attorney General's office is right. knowing that the Attorney General, of course, isn't a policymaker. The commission, each of you in your respective roles, sets the policy. And so while the legal position is defended by the Attorney General's office, and that is what they do, whether a statute or rule, they try to make the puzzle pieces fit together in a legal fashion. It is not policy. And as you consider down the road our petition, and as you have future discussions regarding the 100-mile rule, I just want to, from my perspective, from my background in Wyoming and my background in the different roles that I've played in my life, give you some of my view. First of all, I'll start with the question, why is there any protection? If there's protection, it is because of the legislature's intent and other elected officials' intent to actually promote live horse racing in the state of Wyoming. It wasn't to promote off-track betting, it was to promote live horse racing as supported by off-track betting. And the second question is, why do we care about horse racing in Wyoming? Well, all of you are more passionate than most folks in Wyoming, I assume, because of your position on this commission, as am I. Growing up on a ranch, I involved myself in informal horse racing, but my mother actually was a jockey in her younger days. And I also, while it's romantic and nostalgic, we know that horses, as they are, can define a history, a present, and a future. It's probably possible that people in Wyoming are more familiar with the name Steamboat than they are past governors, and maybe appropriately so. But Steamboat, Seattle Slough, Seabiscuit, Secretariat, those are just the S's of horses that define places and define history and define a possible future for Wyoming and for horse racing. And so the first question, why is there protection? Because we want to have horse racing. Why do we care about horse racing? Because it's not just a romantic notion. It leads to economic activity in the state of Wyoming. It promotes industry, the collateral industries. It's good for the state of Wyoming. And so where we are, that is 307, we think that as you look at the policy, one is if this is protection only for seconds and minutes, it's a bit of an enforcement problem, and certainly seconds or minutes, I don't think is what the legislature had in mind. I will tell you from personal experience, when we moved forward on historic horse racing, it wasn't to create more off-track betting. It was to create the opportunities for more actual live horse racing. Now, in terms of just best case scenario, in order for, which I think is the best case scenario, I think the operators, the other two operators have invested heavily and they have good people and they have done this for a matter of years. And what I think the best case scenario is for the different operators to have the ability to negotiate with one another. In order for them to do that, in order for them to effectively negotiate, they need to know clearly what the sideboard are, the parameters. In other words, is this protection for seconds, minutes, days, for a year? And once that is concrete, I think it will give a better ability for the operators in a positive, good faith fashion to work with one another, trying to negotiate deals, which I view as good news. The other thing I would tell you in terms of policy and why it's so important, I think, that the policy actually promote horse racing isn't just for the live horse racing itself, but I mean, it's a simple fact, but in order to have historical horse racing, you have to have horse races. And so it's not just that off-track betting supports horse racing, live horse racing. Live horse racing, in fact, supports off-track betting. So, President, Commissioners, this is the reason that we move forward with this. And I do want to tell you that 307 is very sensitive and had a lot of consternation about even put this forward because they know they've made some recent asks of the commission, but it's done in good faith in the sense that they really do want to have live horse racing and they're trying to do it in a way that makes sense, not only for them, but for the state of Wyoming and for the other operators. I'll finish with this, President. I do appreciate very much the time you've given me, especially understanding that you've taken this and set it back for some period of time. But I told myself in my previous role, whenever I have a chance to thank people who volunteer for these boards and commissions, there's so many of them, to give thanks because it means a lot to Wyoming. You guys volunteer your time. So that concludes my comments. And again, President, Commissioners, thank you very much for the time you allowed today.
Thank you, Governor. That was very elegant. Would there be anybody else that would like to make an address at this time?
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me? This is Matt Michael.
Go ahead, Matt.
If I could, I'd like just a few minutes to respond. There's several things I want to address. First of all, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm pretty offended that this came up in the manner that it did. I can tell you that we have reached out multiple times to 307 and have asked multiple times for discussions. And to find out that this was filed and this was tried to put on the agenda 2 days ago, it's simply not how we make good policy in Wyoming. Since Governor Mead's here, I reiterate that. We'd love to sit down and talk. And this is not how we practice law in Wyoming, and it's not how we make good policy in Wyoming. And I want you to know, Governor Mead, I am offended. And we've sent multiple emails and I've tried to reach out multiple times. But more importantly, and then secondly, I'm also a little bit taken back as a horse owner. The best thing for the horsemen are for these people to work together. And that's what we're trying to do. Is these industries here, as he said, have invested a lot of money, a lot of time, and put in a lot of years. And you guys all know this. And we are committed to work together. We've offered to sign waivers. We've offered to work with them. And we hope that that's reciprocated going forward. The final thing is just on the legal analysis. First of all, I don't think it's appropriate to do public comment on an issue that was not properly noticed, as the chair said to begin with. But since we've gone down that road, the legal analysis, you can't. One of the fundamental principles of law is you can't just read one piece of one statute in isolation. You have to read all the statutes together. And so if you look at section 102 and you read it together with section 105, and I want to commend the Attorney General's office because I think their letter is absolutely no uncertainty. When you read those together, it's perfectly clear that when you have a permit, when a premises is permitted, that's what 102 says, then the 100-mile rule applies. And then under 105, it says that a premises is only permitted during the time, and it says, it uses those words. It says the permit is effective only for the times and at the places for which it is issued.
Mike?
Yeah.
At this time, this is the discussion for further down the road.
Understand, and I don't think any of this is appropriate, but we did hear Governor Mead on that side. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that there is another side, that we certainly will look forward to talking to you. The AG's opinion is absolutely right. It's absolutely clear. But most importantly is you have a rule in place that's been properly promulgated that is binding on you that you have to follow. And that rule is perfectly consistent with the statutes, and the AG's office and their letter is absolutely follows what the statutes say. And the ultimate policymaker here is the legislature and the statutes that they put in place. Now, I'm sure we'll talk about this more. I just wanted to get those two things out. I wanted to invite Governor Mead to visit with me this afternoon, follow up on this. I wanted to let you know that we have offered to sign waivers. We welcome 307 into this game. We want everybody to work together, and that's the best thing for the horsemen is that the operators here, the people that are running races, work together and do what's best for the horsemen. And I say that as an owner of multiple horses that participate in the system.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And with that, I think we ought to go ahead and get on down the road here to item number 7. And we thank you guys, and we will look forward to visiting on this issue again.
Thank you, President. I again appreciate the time. And as this was on our agenda item, we thought we should show up today. So thanks very much for the time, and to the other commissioners as well. We appreciate it.
Well, we thank you guys for penciling us in the box, but with the timeliness of it, we're going to kick it on down the road just a little bit further.
Sure appreciate it. Thanks, President.
Thank you. With that, Charlie, let's go to item number 7.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Davis. Item number 7, Wyoming Downs LLC It's a request which was received December 3rd, 2020, Pari-Mutuel version 3.26 update consisting of one new wagering profile and one new associated game theme. Based on the submitted information and the GLI report that was submitted, the staff has concluded that the Pari-Mutuel version 3.26 new wagering profile and updates appear to be compliant and consistent with other submissions. The submission that we have here today, Commissioner, is consistent with previous submissions. They do have a commission rate, takeout rate of 8.9 on different, it is a blended takeout rate. It is on one of their traditional platforms that we have utilized in the past over the last years. The specific compliance, if we look on the report, it is in your packet, Commissioners. We have gone through the same 18-point review of it. And again, as I've said, it appears to be consistent and compliant, and I do recommend approval, Commissioners.
There's some discussion, Commissioners. Any discussion on this item?
Excuse me.
Well, at this time, Charlie, we need a motion. Yes.
President
Randy.
Davis, I have a question, maybe to Charlie or per Wyoming Downs. With this new game theme and profile, will you be retiring some of the older ones, or are these going to be in addition?
Is there anybody here from Wyoming Downs? Hello?
I think Mr. Lamb has gotten off the call. I know that they have retired some of their game themes. And typically what this is an addition to.
I guess
Thank you,
that
Charlie. That answers my question. I know you at staff know which ones if you search through your records, I'm sure you know which ones are going to be retired, or if these are replacing, or if these are in addition to. It was just a question that popped into my mind. But thank you.
That's a good question, and I will find the answer for you. Are being retired. We are keeping track of those. It's just not in front of me right at this point.
Okay, do we need a motion then to consider this possible action, Charlie?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
President Davis, this is Commissioner Lyman. I would move that we accept Wyoming Downs LLC's request for the new game theme or new game, Pari-Mutuel version 3.26, and the new wagering profile.
P3, P5 plus the, okay. Is there a second?
All of that.
Yeah. Is there a second? Who was the second? Dick.
Commissioner Barry seconding?
No, Dick got it, I believe. Commissioner Kura.
That sounds good.
Okay, he was the second. I guess we better have a roll call, Charlie.
Yes. Vice President Broussard is absent. Commissioner Glick.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Daigle.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Barry.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyman.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Kura.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacheco.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Wildcat.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, Charlie, with that, I believe we go on to item number 8, skill-based amusement games, bingo, and pull tabs. Item A.
If you can start pulling those people in. Nick, once you have everybody into the call, let me know, please.
President Davis, Director Moore, you should be good.
All right.
Everybody's there?
Okay.
Number 8, skill-based amusement game, bingo, and pull tabs. What is basically a general update, and I'll start out with the updates, and then what I'd like to do is do some introductions to the commissioners on the participants in these events. So first off, we should have on our website now posted the distributions, the skill-based amusement game taxes, and I have that in front of me right now. Steve, if you could bring me that list, I would appreciate it. You're listening in the other room, and I can go over that quickly, or you can sit down and do that with President Davis if you'd like to. And the reason why we're wanting to go over that, this is a new distribution of funding. It will be going on the website each quarter, as we had talked about earlier today. But if we do have that, Steve, you could come this way. The list. Hang on one second. I'll go get Steve.
Well, I had a list, but apparently it was the wrong list. Oh my gosh, I'll move the tennis racket. You good? Yeah. Cool.
Thank you, Director Moore, President Davis, Commissioners. The following are the revenues that were generated from the skill-based amusement game plays in 2020. Skill-based amusement game play started on the 11th of May 2020. Like Director Moore was stating, these are on our website. As far as the county revenues that were generated, these are the revenues that are going to be sent to all 23 counties in Wyoming. They total $370,568.17. And once again, that's from the 11th of May through the 31st of December. The city, town revenues, if you will, that were generated from the skill-based amusement games total $308,801.89. The reason those aren't equivalent is that some of these establishments are in counties only, and the ones that are in counties only, all the revenues at those establishments go to the counties. Those aren't split between the cities and the counties. So 45% of the revenues go to cities and counties. The remaining 45% of those tax revenues go to the school foundation program, and that amounted to $679,370.06. And then the remaining 10% of the tax revenue is going to the gaming commission account, and that amounts to $150,971.12 for a total revenue base for 2020 from the skill-based amusement games of $1,509,711.24. And once again, that'll be on our website, or it is on our website. And if anybody has any questions on that, they can certainly give me a call. Does anybody have any questions on those at this time?
Commissioner Berry. Oh. No, maybe. Are there any questions on this report at this time?
I think we're good, President Davis. Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Once again, if anybody has any questions, certainly give me a telephone call. President Davis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie, do we want to touch on that TRW bill, substitute bill number 56 at this point? Since we
Yes,
are
we sure can. We did touch on it briefly earlier, but the bill moved out of committee. The way I understand it, it's the substitute Senate File 56, the substitute bill. It's I think it's a real positive. And again, back to something that I've always said through this whole process. If it wasn't for the people that are on the screen here helping us get in to these places, get the machines reviewed, looked at, and getting stickers on, that made it very easy for us all. It's been times for everybody, whether it's in the horse racing side or the vending business side. But, you know, I think what has happened with House Enrolled Act 95, and President Davis, if you don't mind, if I can move into some of the introductions.
Yeah, if you want to, Charlie, it's in your court. I just want the commissioners to be abreast of what's in the substitute bill number 56, what it applies to the skill-based amusement games.
Right. Okay. Thank you. What 56, the substitute bill, is a bill that working with LSO gives us, basically fixes all the concerns that we, the commission, have had as far as our regulatory oversight. Clarifies, I think the bill clarifies what we can do and what we shouldn't do or can't do. So I think it's all good. Everything that we have experienced in the last, 10 months, 9 months, whatever it's been, since the bill is out there, we're able to again get better clarification in the substitute bill. So I'm pleased with that. And with that too, whether it's Cowboy Skill and the group, or whether it's the Gracie Games or the and I apologize, I need to look at my list here of everybody so I don't just call them the Gracie Games. S&C Vending and Sunrise Distributing. Everybody is I think pleased with the bill. I think that everybody is good with it. The definitions and the different things that are in there, I think is giving everybody the comfort that we need moving this forward. Are there any specific questions, commissioners? Because we also have a couple people too here that are on the call, kind of staying quiet right at this time. But if there's any explanations on the bill, we do have some what I would consider maybe a little more knowledgeable people on the call that could answer the questions. Mr. Downing or Catherine Wilkinson.
Are there any commission questions at this time?
President Davis, I have one.
Go ahead, Randy.
Charlie, is this basically the bill that you and the rest of our staff, as well as the AG's office, is this pretty much the one that you sent out previously? Is that the one that passed through TRW?
Yes. What it did is take what they did initially was take Senate File 55 and then put it into a different format, bringing everything over to the format that was it's more palatable, I guess. And then they did the same with Senate File 56 and just moved it over, created 3 different articles in there, and the articles can be repealed or not, and just kind of putting them in a little better place in our laws. And I'm probably not explaining it real well. So what's in the bill was transferred over to the substitute bills. And
Director Moore?
56 substitute bill is what I was asked to work with. And I think maybe Senator Ellis, maybe she can even answer that question for you.
Senator Ellis, if you would like to fill us in a little bit better, please.
Absolutely, sir. So I just want to thank you for letting me be part of the call today. I am really excited about coming in as the new TRW chairperson on the Senate side. And just to make all of the commissioners aware, I have a gaming background. In my early days, in my early career, I worked for the National Indian Gaming Commission in Washington, D.C. It's the regulatory entity for Indian gaming across the country. And so in that role, I learned a lot about some of the less glamorous parts about some of the very issues you're talking about, you know, whether a machine is class 2 or class 3 requires different regulatory schemes. And sometimes a machine looks and feels a certain way, but you know, it's the mechanics of what's happening inside the machine that determine how it's regulated. So, and since that time, I've also been appointed to serve on the Navajo Nation Gaming Enterprises Board. And so, you know, have some experience on the business end of what casinos go through. So coming into the TRW role, I am excited that we are working on gaming issues and look forward to working with all of you as we sort these things out and make sure that you have the resources you need to ensure that our gaming is being conducted fairly and accurately in Wyoming. So that public confidence is really crucial, as well as making sure we're not inviting unwelcome elements such as the criminal aspect. So in talking about the gaming bill in particular, when we passed that law, it was done through something called session law, which whenever we do an appropriation, it has a 2-year duration. So it's very temporary in nature. And unfortunately, we did make some very permanent changes that we contemplated to be permanent with the Gaming Commission's creation. And so we're transferring those functions out of that temporary session law into our codified section of law, which is our green books, so that when the public wants to know how gaming's being regulated, they don't have to have access to these 2-year temporary laws. They can actually go to our statutes and see what's been made permanent. So that was the purpose of having all of those bills transferred into a substitute bill. And then I'm sure if Director Moore wants to go into this in greater detail, there was some suggestion about trying to provide some regulation over manufacturers, and I had concerns over that. And I think there are ways that we can do it that don't require that direct nexus or connection and or asking manufacturers to obtain decals or pay certain fines. I think the commission should be able to, you know, require that operators who are bringing those gaming devices into Wyoming make sure that they're certified or just have some other hook to make sure that the manufacturers are saying what they're doing. But so we're happy to answer any questions of that sort, but that's the purpose of the substitute bills. And going forward, you know, we're in a challenging time in the legislature. And so I think I've flagged a few other issues at some point in time I would like to raise to the commission, just about statutory cleanup language, kind of some holdover language that really refers to the Gaming Commission as a pari-mutuel commission. But those are all issues I'll raise to you at a different point in time. I don't think that they need to happen today or this year, particularly as we're trying to navigate doing a session virtually and, you know, with a pandemic. But down the road, I would love to work with your commission, highlight some of those issues and just get some feedback on how we can further strengthen the newly created Wyoming Gaming Commission. So happy to answer any other questions, but thanks for letting me be with you all today.
Thank you, Senator Ellis. Is there any questions for the senator at this time? And Charlie, upon that, I think we need to make those changes sooner than later to the commission that Senator Ellis alluded to.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, with that, Charlie, I guess we can go on with introductions here.
Yes. First off, commissioners, did any of you have an opportunity to look at the links that I did provide you on some of the things that are going on around the state from the different gaming or from the skill-based? I'm trying to get the language correctly here. So I do apologize to you all on the phone, but skill-based amusement game and bingo, we were provided several really nice links, and I just hope the commissioners have had an opportunity to look at that. With us today, as I see on the screen, and what we may try to do is, I don't know if Mr. Wiseman's on the call. Nick, if you can, if that's, or if Mr. Scribner's on the call.
Mr. Scribner just joined. Mr. Wiseman is not here.
Okay.
As I can see.
Well, Mr. Scribner, if you would like to introduce yourself to the commissioners and why we're doing this, commissioners, with House Rolled Act 95, what we ended up doing, we obviously, and everybody knows, we have the cart ahead of the horse. So we're trying to kind of put it back into perspective, get to understand the people we're working with. And with Zoom and with COVID, everything, we've lost all that personal interaction. And this is, I hope, this is a attempt to try kind of alleviate that a little bit. And if we need to change it up a little bit in the future, we certainly will. So, Mr. Scribner, if you'd like to unmute, just kind of introduce yourself to the commissioners if they have any questions.
Hello, yeah, this is Bob Scripter with S&C Vending, representing Bangshot Skill Games. How you all doing?
Good.
Are there any questions for Mr. Scribner on how things are working out and what's happening in his world? Kind of like he got off the hook okay. So there you go.
Does he have any questions for the commission?
Thank you.
No, I really don't. Everything's going real smooth. We just been operating right along, and I think everything's going real good on both ends.
Thank you.
Well, please feel free, if you have questions, concerns, to always contact the office. That goes out to anybody that's involved in the gaming world or in the amusement game world. So if there is anything that we can do here, we are definitely here to help and also listen to suggestions. Next, I believe, and I don't know how you want to do this. I think the next group would probably be obviously the Cowboy Skills. And if we want to break it down, is Jim Brewer on the call? No. Getting a head shake? No. How about Jewel Box? Anybody representing Jewel Box? Oh, there you go. Matt, unmute. Thank you. And introduce yourself to the commissioners. Thank you.
Sure. President Davis, Commissioners, Director Moore. My name is Matt Haskell. So Ryan, unfortunately, Ryan Juleson couldn't join us today, but he wanted to make sure that he got his introduction. He's got one of his young son's birthday today, so his wife let him know that that was more important, which she's right, as we all know. But at any rate, just a couple bullet points about Ryan. Juleson Amusements was started over 30 years ago by Ryan's father. Ryan was born and raised in Bighorn, Wyoming. So obviously second generation coin-operated amusement operator. He's over 30 locations in Bighorn Park and Washakie County. And he operates pool tables, jukeboxes, video games, things like that, as well as the Cowboy Skill game, which is, we all like to think is another tool in our toolbox to help keep our bars open and our communities going and some social opportunity. So that's Ryan. I think if it's okay with you, President Davis, Director Moore, I'll just go right ahead and introduce myself a little bit more and give you a little background, and then we can go through the rest of the group, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds very good.
Great. Again, my name is Matt Paschal. My operating company is Entertainment Experts. We've partnered with bars and restaurants and truck stops in the Wyoming area for over 15 years. Very fortunate to have a great group of people that I work with in Wyoming, as well as over the last few years with the other operators in the state to, again, help build our industry and support the bar owners. We do pool tables, jukeboxes, things like that, again, all over the state. And I think it's important, I want to say this, and I think it's important for everybody on the phone to understand that when we started this process, that consumer electronics have begun to kind of take away some of the opportunities that we've traditionally had in our coin-op amusement business in the industry, and taking people out of the bars and out of those social atmospheres and keeping them at home. So we've struggled a little bit in our industry to give people an opportunity to go out to the bars, socialize, keep that local community going. And the hard work that a lot of these people on the phone have done with pool leagues and dart leagues and things like that have helped keep that industry alive. And we sought out the skill games as an opportunity to kind of do the same thing. And again, when we started this process, we thought we were being very careful about asking for regulation that really kept the skill game side of the business in the box, if you will, with low play values and low jackpots and things like that. And I think one of the things that I think we probably didn't do a very good job with communicating to a lot of people is that this is not a Trojan horse to bring slot machines into the state of Wyoming. This is just another tool in our industry, and we're very happy with what we have, and not looking for any sort of expansion or bigger jackpots, bigger pay tables, anything like that. We're very happy with where we are, and we appreciate all the hard work you all have done trying to learn a whole new business and a whole new industry. So with that, I'll hand over the mic to whoever else.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Charlie, who's next on your list? Hello, Charlie. You're muted.
Yep, I'm trying to get there. Sorry about that. I think let's just let them jump in as they please.
Who'd like to be next? Raise your hand, please. Oh, there's a hand down in the corner. Nick?
All right. Thank you, President Davis and commissioners. My name is Nick George. Me and my wife own Wyoming Amusement in Sheridan, Wyoming. We actually have equipment that goes all the way from Sheridan County, Johnson, Crook, Weston, and Campbell County. My dad started Wyoming Amusement in 1992 with David Waylander. So I'm a second generation vendor. Our mainstay has always been pool, darts, in the leagues that are with them. I'm also serving as the president of the AMOW, which is the Amusement and Music Operators of Wyoming. We've been around, the AMOW has been around for 37 years. We've actually been doing the state pool, state dart tournament, and things like that for the last 28 years. That's how long we've had the state pool tournament that we run at Casper. Coin op has been around for a long time, and this is just one of the things that we really needed in our industry to kind of keep us afloat. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the skill games during COVID, a lot of us would be definitely having a much harder time with things right now. So if you guys have me or would like have any ideas for us to make things run smoothly with you guys, feel free to get a hold of me at any time. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. Is there any questions for Nick from the commissioners? Hearing none, next person raise their hand. Aha, there we got Leslie.
Well, hello, am I coming through? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
President Davis, Director Moore, and members of the commission. Hi all, my name's Leslie George. My husband Nick just introduced our company, Wyoming Amusement, Inc. Today I want to speak on behalf of Jim and Diane Blazovich, owners of Wind River Vending. The following submission was written by Jim. Hello, President Davis and commissioners. Wind River Vending is an operator of Cowboy Skill. We're located in Rock Springs and provide vending services in Sweetwater County. Our families have lived in Sweetwater County over 100 years. I've been here 69 years today. My wife, Diane, 67. We have no plans to ever leave this beautiful state. We've been in business in one kind or another for 47 years in Wyoming, Wind River Vending specifically for 40 years this year. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce ourselves. Sincerely, Jim Blazovich. And speaking for myself, Leslie, I just wanted to add thank you to the commission for your attention on skill-based amusement games regulating us as House Enrolled Act 95 became our current environment. I know it's been a lot of work and new topic and subject matter. So thank you. And I look forward to working some more with you going forward.
Thank you. We need all the adult guidance we can get. Who's next? Go ahead there. Wyoming Amusement Services. That's all they have there.
Hello, Commissioner Davis and President Davis, sorry about that, and commissioners and Director Moore. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today with my wife, Rhonda, here. That's David and Rhonda Waylander. We own Wyoming Amusement Services based out of Casper. Like Nick mentioned earlier, started Wyoming Amusement 32 years ago with his dad, Jeff. And slowly we've grown over the years. I've been actually a vendor for 42 years with 32 actually in Wyoming. So I'm a second generation also in the vending business. We have 9 employees right now. We run from Alcova to Glendo to Lusk to Wright to KC and everything in between. So we put a lot of road miles on trying to keep all of our equipment running. In the end, my wife and I are the ones that are responsible to pull off the state pool and state darts, which is a huge task each year. And last year we were able to do darts, but not the state pool because of COVID. But we're just notified and had a meeting on Wednesday with the event center there in Casper, and it looks like we have been approved to hold our state tournament this year. So we're excited to get back to a little bit of normal and move forward with our skill games and with you guys. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you and for you to work with us, and we can have a bright future, I'm hoping. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for them? Okay, seeing no questions. Who's next? Bobby?
Yes, sir. President Davis, Director Moore, Commissioners, I am Bobby Jenkins, co-owner with 2 brothers of Jenkins Music and Vending. We're a second generation as well, and we been in business since 1969. Our father started the business. We're based out of Sweetwater County and travel over to Uena and Lincoln, Teton, Hot Springs, down into Fremont. So excited and appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself and just appreciate all you guys have done. Everything that's been said is right down our lane as well. The times of COVID, it's been such a strain on, we service nearly 100 bars. And as you can imagine, it's been tough. But we're excited for this opportunity and appreciate what you do. And we're excited anything we can do for you guys. We're here for you and want to make it easy as we can. So we really appreciate it. Any questions for me? Yeah, thank you.
Is there any questions for Bobby from the commissioners? Okay, it looks like Bob and Sherry.
Hello, I'm Sherry Burnham. My husband Bob and I own Paradise Pinball and Amusements. We've been here doing this for 18 years, and we are based in Cheyenne. Heavily involved with dart and pool leagues, jukeboxes, and our bars go from Rollins up to Torrington, Wheatland, a lot of rural areas that we service. But we're based in Cheyenne, and that's where most of our bars are. So we've really enjoyed the opportunity to get to learn a different side of things with skill, and just even working with you guys on the commission, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Sherry? Looks like we have Jonathan down there in the corner, but all I see is a picture. Is he available, Nick, or do you know?
He can unmute himself if you'd like.
Jonathan, are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We were here for moral support primarily, but if there are any questions, feel free to have any now. Catherine and I had appreciated the comments from Chairwoman Ellis on background on the bills and legislation. We also appreciate the work of the commission and commission staff as we move forward with skill, because it's one of those, as you've heard from our operators, that a number of them have been in business in Wyoming for, luckily I get to say, longer than I've been alive. So appreciate your work on this, folks.
Kudos to everybody there. With that, Charlie, would you like to continue?
Well, that's it. We can move on to the next item unless there's any more questions, either of me or our staff, from any of the vendors, operators, establishments.
Charlie, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Who does Jonathan represent? I didn't get his introduction of himself.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Jonathan Downing on behalf of Cowboy Skill and Pace-O-Matic.
Thank you.
With that, are there any other comments or questions at this time? Thank you guys all for introducing yourselves. It'll make it a lot nicer now when we run into each other underneath the mask, right? Okay, thank you guys. All right, Charlie, with that, I guess we go to item number 9. Is there a reason for an executive session today, Charlie?
It does not appear to, no.
Ah, that sounds good. That means Mr. Taylor can get off easy this time, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, with that, Charlie, item number 10, can you give us an update of how you'd like to go forth with our meeting dates and schedule and why?
Yes, what I have here is, and again, we're still going to have to kind of monitor progress with COVID and different things as far as in-person or not meetings throughout the state. But what I have penciled in at this point would be our next meeting. And partially this is due to the fact that we do have our session starting next week, and kind of trying to avoid the craziness that comes with that. So our next meeting would be scheduled March 12th. And then we would continue on after that, a May 14th meeting, a July 9th meeting, a September 17th meeting, an October 1st, and then our annual fall meeting scheduled for November 19th. I'm still playing with those. We'll get those together. I'll get those on the calendar and then get those sent out to you all, commissioners, for your review, and double check on all these dates to make sure they're not interfering with holidays and different things. So that's all I have at this point. President Davis.
Well, at this point also, Charlie, if there are emergency meetings, we can still handle them via Zoom, correctly, on site-specific topics?
Yes, if there's an emergency of some sort, yes.
Okay. All right. With that, commissioners, any questions for Charlie on that? We need him to do the doodle poll.
President Davis, this is Tom Barry. Charlie, what are your thoughts on, are we going to have a special meeting to discuss the 307 request and get, some more input from the AG's office, et cetera? I don't see this thing going away. And
thank you for the question, Commissioner Barry. There is that potential. I'll get with the AG's office and see what their timeline is as far as reviewing the documents and the submissions, and then be able to update you all.
Does that sound good, Tom?
yes, thank you.
Okay. And I guess then, as far as we proceed down with this year with the legislative session going from our being extended for so long, what was I gonna put forth there? Oh, appointments, Charlie, and also election cycle.
Yes. One of the things that it's going to be sad, we're going to miss him, but we're going to be losing Commissioner Glick in March. And
we commonly refer to him as the boy.
Do what?
I say we commonly refer to him as the voice.
There you go. Yeah. We are going to lose him. I know they are looking for his replacement. While there won't be somebody that can replace him, but you never know. So we should, I do know that the governor's office is looking at it and it's on their radar. I need to double check and see when those submissions are due. Typically, in a typical world, it's the last 2 weeks of a session, but I will look at the schedule. And then after we've had that reappointment or have that new appointment, then we will have our election of officers shortly thereafter. We are not necessarily, we have no rule or regulation that requires us to have election of officers at a certain point. So once we've got that position filled, then we can go to that next step.
Thank you, Charlie. Commissioners, at this time, do you have any other questions for Charlie, or we'll turn it into old business? Is there any old business? Hearing no old business, then Charlie, I think we can adjourn this meeting of January 22nd.
Thank you. I would just say to everybody, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much for attending the meeting. And I guess, as you said, we're adjourned. Thank you.